I think that rituals, they're what they are activities that are going to strengthen a relationship. And it's all about creating relationships at work. That is what, it has nothing to do with the actual work people are doing. It has to do with people that feel like they're working with other people that they like. And so rituals help create that bond. They help create that relationship with people. And that's all about engagement. So just fostering any type of activity where people feel that they can engage with each other.
Hello and welcome back to the Unicorn Leadership Podcast, where we interview leaders on how they create high-performing, unstoppable teams that scale. And in their journey of being a leader that creates those teams, their journey of being a manager. My name is Fahad Al-Tab, and I'm your host. And our goal is to bring you the insights, the tools, the stories on the mistakes that we've made along the way in building these teams and creating these rituals, and so that you can learn from them and you can bring them back to your team. This podcast is brought to you by Unicorn Labs, where we help transform managers into leaders that create high-performing teams that help businesses scale. And you can check us out at unicornlabs.ca. Today's guest is Laura Mindorff, and she is a brilliant COO at Wicket, and who developed years of experience under her belt and shares some very tactical advice. And I really like this episode because it gets very, very practical on how we create culture. See, culture can feel very, it feels in the clouds. You're like, what is culture and how do we create it? But she brings it and focuses it really into about rituals, about culture champions, what metrics to watch out for to check on your progress within your culture. And I'm so happy to bring you this conversation because Laura's purposeful and relentless approach to consistently and constantly prioritizing culture and fostering relationships in her own team, and how you can start to do that and what practices you can do to bring the same. When things pile up for leaders, it's easy to push things away that facilitate healthy and positive cultures by the wayside because we're so busy just trying to produce and get the next thing done and get the next priority done. But this episode really inspired me on the importance of staying consistent, creating a routine, creating a foundation that is a springboard for culture and a springboard for good work, for impactful work, for employee happiness. To give it a listen and share your ways on how you can create positive workplace culture. See, upon reflecting from Laura's episode here, I really started to reflect on the rituals and the rhythms of my own team. And, how do we check in with each other? How do we make sure things are going well? What is our consistent routines? We have our daily stand-ups. We have our weekly project meetings. We have our one-on-ones that happen bi-weekly. We have all these little things that when they're missed, you can almost feel it in the team that, hey, I didn't have our stand-up today. I kind of missed it because I was busy with something else. I wonder how the team is doing. In a hybrid world, more than ever, where we're trying to create culture between distances, the rituals and rhythms are super important. And one ritual and rhythm that Unicorn Labs has been really involved in is company retreats and team retreats. This has been something that we've gotten a lot of requests for over this past summer and even into the fall, where teams want to find a way to get people together. They want to get everyone together and have some fun, eat some food together, play some games, do some activities, and really build out an offsite, build out a team retreat. And so we've been doing these team retreats for a number of years now, 4 or 5 years. Before the pandemic, we were doing a significant amount of retreats that obviously slowed down, and now it's picking back up. And what I wanted to share is that because this has become a big ritual for teams to do retreats every quarter or once a year, some people twice a year, I wanted to give a few insights on if you're planning your team retreat. Here are a few things I want you to really think about, because we've kind of gotten this down to a science and we're really happy to share some thoughts on this. So one of the things you want to think about are the different buckets that happen during a team retreat. often when people put people together and say, oh, let's just play sports together, we're doing team building, they mischaracterize team building. So I want you to kind of think of the different buckets. The first bucket is team bonding. That's the play sports together, play board games, have some drinks together, really just enjoy spending time together. The laughter, the inside jokes that develop, the silliness that happens from just working beside one another and just enjoying each other's presence. That's team bonding. You've got to have an element of team bonding because relationships fundamentally shift how we work. They shift whether we have trust, they shift whether we're willing to empower each other, and they shift on how we communicate and engage in conflict. So team bonding is super important. You got to make time for that. And so if a lot of our silly games and our fun games that we do are team bonding, then we got to shift over to actual team building. What's team building? Well, team building is the intentional design and creation of what your team looks like. That's about talking about values, talking about behaviors. It's about doing problem solving and engaging in conflict. We had one team retreat where we really unpacked the challenges and the debates that were not being had at the office and at the meetings, and we had them at the retreat with people who are face-to-face, and we were able to actually deal with the emotional challenges behind some of the key problems they were having. So team building is the intentional creation. So this is when you do a team canvas exercise, or you do an activity that leads to a thoughtful reflection as to whether we're dealing with conflict, or whether we have good recognition, or whether we have psychological safety, or whether our process is going well. And it really is about not working in the team. You're not working on campaigns or products. You're not working on what the team has to achieve. You're working on the team, how the team itself works. The third part you want to really consider during retreats is team strategy. So you got team bonding, team building, and team strategy. Team strategy is when you start to look at aligning the pieces in the company strategy and the business strategy. Does our team have a roadmap that aligns with the larger organization roadmap? What does our roadmap look like? Is everyone aligned on that roadmap? Are our goals clear? Are the roles clear? Is the vision clear? What problems are we about to face, and how do we unpack it? And so whenever we design a team retreat, we make plenty of time for bonding early, all right, to break the ice, to get everyone to get to know each other. Day one is really, really about bonding and having fun. Day two is about building. We're going to start pushing and trying to challenge each other. And then day three is about team strategy. Now that we've uncovered how we need to be as a team, where are we pointing that energy and where are we going? And so if you're planning a retreat, really think about those things. Think about how they can be part of your rituals and your rhythms throughout the entire organization, life, the entire year, and how that works and how that comes together. It definitely drives employee happiness. And this is one of the things that Laura was super focused on as we talked about her journey through creating culture at her organization. Let's hear another clip from Laura here and get us going.
Culture is the sum of all the behaviors you champion minus the ones you tolerate. And that is it right there. And you were just talking about behaviors. You don't have to have a rule book. It's becomes clear in what you tolerate and what you do not tolerate. Right. So that stays true to, raising a family with children, whatever, but also running a business. That's how people know what behaviors, are tied to positive culture and it's just what you choose to tolerate and what you choose to celebrate.
In this episode 10 of Unicorn Leadership, Laura offers us practical tips to create rituals of your own, or you can also borrow hers and you can borrow some of mine, and what metrics you can measure to ensure culture isn't failing. She shares her personal, practical examples of how she intentionally supports culture at her organization through various rituals, from non-work related Slack channels to how inviting inter-team sharing can go a long way toward making a positive culture stick. Her biggest piece of advice in terms of changes that you can do today is have an internal champion for culture that can create buy-in and that has decision making. Stay agile but yet relentless in your pursuit of creative ideas to keep up company culture while maintaining a good pulse on what is and isn't working. Let's tune in to hear all about how Laura champions culture herself, why this needs to be a priority for you at your company, and what you can start doing today to be competitive in the war for talent by creating a high-performing culture. Hello, Laura. How are you today?
I'm good. How are
Good.
you?
Good. Welcome to our Unicorn Labs podcast. I'm excited to introduce you to our audience, and I'm excited to have you share your ideas, your experience. You come from such a brilliant background. You do some really cool work, and honestly, you're just such a fun person to be around. I wanted to start off with that. Just let the audience know
Aw.
that. Hear your laugh and hear your smile through your words. But I am gonna kick us off with the big question of why everyone's gonna be listening to this episode. It's going to be about trying to understand and figure out how do we actually create culture. And I'm using the word actually here because you're in this world of culture, and there's a lot of talk of values and things that we have to do. It feels like a lot of fluff at times when you talk about culture. It feels like a lot of feelings and emotions, and it's hard to be tangible. If I'm a manager, if I'm a CEO, or if I'm a VP of culture and I'm trying to figure out how to do that in my own organization, what does it actually take?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I think that culture is something that will be created, whether you like it or not. But there are definitely things that you can do to be intentional about it. And what I want to talk about, that I think is what is the heartbeat of culture, are the rituals that a company fosters and facilitates in order to kind of inspire and maintain, because like I said, culture is going to be created whether you like it or not. There will be something that will emerge, but the rituals are something that a company can do to try to intentionally create the culture that they want.
I really like that, Laura. So culture will be created no matter what, right? As when you put a group of people together, you put a team together, there's culture. There's kind of the expectations start to layer around the behaviors, and so what you're saying is that these rituals are ways for us to be more intentional around some of the behaviors that are already happening.
Exactly.
I really like that. Let's get tangible there. What's an example of a ritual that intentionally creates culture for you right now in your team?
Yeah, so like just to kind of keep it simple, any team that practices agile will know that rituals like a daily stand up, for example, a daily scrum, a retrospective, those types of things. Those are rituals. Those are something that happens at a frequency that you decide is best for your team. And the key to it is that they happen every time, no matter what. They never not happen. Once you decide this is something that your team is doing, of course, you have to leave room for experimentation and failing and, okay, this didn't work, let's try something else. But what something, becomes a ritual, you do it every single time.
Okay. So rituals, the consistency of rituals is extremely important. So we have to be intentional in the culture that we create, and then
Yes,
and then we bring them alive through these rituals, and then the consistency of these rituals are extremely important.
that's
So
right.
so then describe to me an effective culture that what does that look like? So if that's how we actually create culture, we do it intentionally, we do it through rituals that are consistent. Then what kind of culture should we be creating? What sort of behaviors are we looking at through these rituals? What does that look like for you?
Okay, that's a good question. So, I mean, I think engagement is a really key indicator of a healthy culture, personally. And there's a whole other podcast we could talk about, around this whole quiet quitting thing, and that's just lack of engagement, basically. And I don't think that's a healthy culture. So I think that rituals, they're what they are activities that are going to strengthen a relationship. And it's all about creating relationships at work. That is what, it has nothing to do with the actual work people are doing. It has to
Hmm.
do with people that feel like they're working with other people that they like. And so rituals help create that bond. They help create that relationship with people. And that's all about engagement. So just fostering any type of activity where people feel that they can engage with each other.
I like that. I like that. So it comes down to relationships. Now, Laura, your team is fully remote.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us,
We,
tell us a little bit about what Wicket and Industrial, what your team does. Maybe that'll be a good kind of grounding moment.
Yeah, for sure. So, Wicket is a SaaS company. We are the world's first member data platform. So, we have created a new software category, which is fun. And we sell to the association space. So, we work with a lot of not for profits, member based organizations, and we help them with a better alternative for their software to engage with their members. You mentioned Industrial. Industrial's been around for over 22 years. Industrial started as a web design and development agency, also building and designing amazing websites for the association space. And that's where Wicket was born. So Wicket was spun out of Industrial. It's the classic kind of services to product story. And then to make our story even kind of more full circle, we've actually decided recently that we are going to be amalgamating the two companies back into one, all as Wicket. So we are going to be still this member data platform, this product company with a services component, still building and designing websites for associations that integrate with Wicket.
Cool.
So that is what we do. We're 30 people, all remote, all within Canada.
Awesome. I love that. Okay, so Wicket. So we're calling it all Wicket. And so Wicket's fully remote. And just like other remote teams, I'm sure that this pandemic has been extremely challenging in specifically around relationship building. I know from our own data at Unicorn Labs, we've created a team dynamics survey that we use across all our clients. And one of the number one questions that has seen the biggest variance in dropping is, I have a best friend at work. That question has dropped more than any other question in terms of engagement. So if you're telling me that culture is created through rituals and the purpose of some of these rituals is to create relationships, to create engagement, but yet we're struggling with relationships more than ever, I don't expect you to have a magic bullet answer, Laura, at all. But what are you doing about it? What should we all be doing about it if it's very apparent that this is a problem for many of our leaders and many of our teams?
It is. It's so hard. It is a problem. It is a challenge. And that's why you see this quiet quitting stuff out there. And that's why so many companies are struggling with the remote and the hybrid and what do we do and how do we get people back into the office or how do we get people engaged? It is hard and I don't have all the answers. But I do want to share a story with you about something that we did last week that is totally related to this question around rituals and creating the relationships and that kind of thing. So one of the rituals that we have at Wicket is, and we've been doing this for, since the pandemic started and we went remote, every Friday we've got that 3:00 company call. I know a lot of people are sick of this like company call, where we all have to, I don't know, like each other or whatever, but we're still doing
at least you're
it.
calling it out, right? There's some
Exactly.
pushback,
And I will admit the engagement has dropped off a little bit, but it's at 3:00 and it's not mandatory, but people that want to join. And we try and have some sort of theme or game, something that we all come together and do, and there's always a winner at the end, and whoever wins gets to order takeout for them and their families. And so what we did last week, and this idea was inspired by another podcast that I was listening to, somebody that I really like in the culture space. His name's Josh Levine, and he was talking about this very thing about like, how do you create these relationships and all this stuff. He was like, basically kind of summarized it to Slack channels. You got to have these Slack channels. And so what I did was I made everybody answer the question, if you could create any Slack channel within the Wicket, account that has nothing to do with work at all, nothing. And we have some. We've got one called T-shirt slogans and one called, that we post pictures of our dogs and cats and all that stuff. But outside of that, just anything that you could create, what would you create? And people started talking about music and food and like all, the general things. And then like, of course, what to watch on Netflix and podcasts and books and, all these like topics that are obviously important to people as human beings, not employees. And at the end of the call, I told everybody, I want everybody to go and create these Slack channels. And I want everybody to feel like they can just join any one of these Slack channels and create these relationships with each other, because it has nothing to do with work. It has to do with wanting to work with the people that you are creating these relationships with. And that leads to you actually doing better work, right? And so that's what we did. And we've got a bunch of these fun Slack channels now floating around. I definitely didn't join the hockey one. The
No?
the Canadian Tire Flyer.
Oh,
Slack.
no.
But the point is, be who you are, create relationships with other people who want to talk about that stuff that you want to talk about that has nothing to do with work.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love it. And, the cynic in me, Laura, is the challenging piece of, I love all this culture stuff. So I always say we got to drink the Kool-Aid sometimes and just kind of jump into it and be enthusiastic about it, because a little hint of enthusiasm can go all the way. But, you're trying to constantly be creative in how you approach your 3 p.m. kind of Friday calls, because people are sick and tired of it, right? They're like, I don't want another company call where I have to do 2 truths and a lie. Like, I don't want another company call. Like, it's just, I'd rather take that time. And especially where we're seeing people are burnt out, right? Across the board, we keep hearing people are burnt out. And I don't know how to answer this question either. And we get a lot of our clients are asking this question. What do we do? If all our staff are burnt out, we still need people working. We still need to accomplish goals, but people are tired and people are burnt out. And, how much of that is on on us and how much is it on their own routines? And, should we just cut out some of our playtime? So if we remove our 3 p.m. calls and we stop doing as many daily stand-ups and we stop doing like all of these things, could we give them back their time and avoid their burnout? And I find this interesting, because the first thing that we try and cut out when people are burnt out are the social pieces. Yeah. But aren't the social pieces the things that truly actually energize us and recreate that thrive? Why is that the first thing we cut out? I don't know. I'm just talking out loud here, Laura. What do you say to those people who are facing company burnout and they're at the moment of maybe we should give up on some of these Friday calls or little rituals that we put into place in the beginning of the pandemic when we thought it was going to last 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, oh God, I know. I remember going, okay, it's week 4. We made it to week 5. Oh my God, this is never going to end. I don't know. It's a really good question. I don't know if I have the answer to it. Like, other than like our call is at 3 and we invite everyone to end their work day, their work week when that call is over, so we're not asking people to do social stuff outside of, the work hours. It's also not mandatory, show up if you want. And it's funny because even the people that lean more on the introverted side of things, who don't want to be social, whenever we do surveying internally to find out, what people are looking for, what they like, what they don't like, all that kind of stuff, those people still see the value in it and still understand that in a remote environment, it's still important that we see each other's faces and that we take the time to interact outside of work meetings
Mm,
all the time. It's still important that we create those little bonds. Um, and you don't have to participate. You can just be a fly on the wall too, and just
yeah.
kind of listen. And um, but also, if you don't want to come, you don't have to come. So it's a balance, I think, that we're all trying to figure out right now. Um, because full remote is still new for a lot of companies.
Hmm.
Hybrid is new for a lot of companies. And I think we're all just trying to figure it out right now.
Hmm. Hmm. But I like that. I like that it's during work hours, it's non-mandatory, you know, show up if you can. And the fact that you keep showing up with it every week, right? We're
Yeah.
here,
Hmm.
we're trying,
Yeah.
we're looking at create relationships, right? That consistency, I think, makes a difference, right? That's how you win some of the cynics of like, okay, well, they're showing up all the time. Okay, I guess I'll show up this time. I haven't shown up to 3 calls and I'll
Yeah.
do this one, right? And they
Yeah.
participate. Now, there's another fun ritual that I know you have started to practice, these quarterly retreats where you're bringing your teams together. Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Well, we can't quite afford it to be quarterly yet. It's
Okay.
it's
Okay.
it's biannually, 2 times a year. Yeah. So because we're remote, we still want to be able to see everybody in person 2 times a year. So that's kind of the promise that we've made to our team. So we do it once in June and then once in November. So we have our second one of the year coming up in November. Um, fly people in from wherever they are. We do it in Ottawa because originally we were based in Ottawa, so most of our staff is still somewhat centered in the Ottawa area. Put people up in hotels and come together for a couple days of fun and learning and team building, and because you helped facilitate one of the days in June for us, which was just absolutely incredible. Um, and we eat together, we take everybody out for a nice meal, we drink, and we just have a good time. And I know a lot of, like, we're not unique in this. A lot of companies are doing this. you know um, it's a key part of success with remote cultures. I think now
Yeah.
is like, okay, we got to figure out a way to actually see each other at least once or twice a year. And it just, I don't know, but when we were finished, we were absolutely exhausted because you're just not used to being
Yeah.
that social for that long in person.
Hmm.
But it energized us so much at the same time. It was just so valuable. So we can't wait to do it again in November.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. And I think what I'm hearing is the result of some of these rituals that you take on to build culture are energizing, right?
Yeah.
Building relationship is energizing. It finds that same motivation. It brings us back. I really like that. Okay, so we've gone down the rabbit hole a little bit here, Laura. I'm going to pull us back out and say, okay, you weren't always this brilliant people and culture person who's consistent, showing up, doing the rituals, trying to create culture, understanding that culture is something to be intentional about. Otherwise, it will be created based on what we tolerate.
Yeah.
So, take me back. Where's your story begin? Maybe
Mhm.
where did you grow up? Where'd you go to school? First job? Let's get to know Laura a little bit, and let's get to know how did you come to some of these insights that you're at today. So where does the story begin?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I'm pretty much an Ottawa native. I have lived in Ottawa since sixth grade, um, and I went to University of Ottawa. I went to
Nice.
Algonquin. Yeah, so I now live in Carleton Place, which is a little town outside of Ottawa, but yeah, and I have always worked in Ottawa, started out as a media buyer and then worked at a few different agencies. So started out in like a print and design agency and then digital agencies, and that's kind of how I made my way into
Yeah.
industrial 10 years ago. Um, Also, a big part of my story and my life are my children. I have 3 kids and 2 stepkids as well. So my husband and I have
Lovely.
a blended family, and My husband and I are co-founders of Wicket. So Jeff is the CEO, and I'm the
Yeah.
COO. So it's a family business, and
That's
um,
awesome.
you
Are your
know,
kids involved too?
kids are not involved at this point, but that like that's part of my story, like in terms of like the culture and the rituals and all that kind of stuff, because before Jeff, I was a single mom with three boys for 15 years
Mm,
of my life. And I
mm.
think like any parent knows, like creating routine and structure and all that is a key part of just, creating some calm. But also rituals, they're a big part of family.
Yeah.
So like I've just always been a very routine oriented type of person, a little bit
Hmm.
obsessive with that kind of stuff. And like just to give you an example of something that we do as a family, related to rituals, is every single we've been doing this for I don't know, like 7 years now. Every single night at dinner, we do highs and lows with the kids, where it's basically the way of finding out how was your day today. But if you ask a kid, how was your day today? The answer is, I don't know, fine. But if you ask them,
I
what was
love
the
that.
worst part of your day? And what
Hmm.
was the best part of your day? All of a sudden, you know everything about what happened in everybody's day. So every single night at dinner without fail,
Do
we
highs
go
and
around the
lows.
table and everybody says what their low was. And you're allowed to have a no low day. And if you have a no low day, there's a fun little chant involved. And then,
Wait a second. You're not gonna brush by that. Can I hear this chant? What's the chant?
okay, well, first you say, I had a no low day.
I had a no low day.
Hey, 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 hey.
I,
Okay, anyway.
I actually love that. Yeah.
We stole it from the New York Rangers fans. We were at a Sens game one night and they were playing New York Rangers, and every time New York got a goal, the fans would start going, "Hey, hey, 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 hey," and we're like, "Oh, that's kind of fun." So,
It's cool.
anyway,
I love that. I love that. Okay, keep going. Keep going. So,
yeah,
obviously,
and then everybody says they're high, and then the next thing you know what
yeah.
happened in everybody's day, and it's just a better way than just saying how was your day today. And
Laura, I
here's the
absolutely,
other
yeah.
the
Go.
other the other funny thing about it is that whenever Jeff will go, okay, it's time to do highs and lows, you'll hear like a couple of the kids be like, "Ugh," not want
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
it. But then the second you go, who's got a low? Everybody's got an answer. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think I'm reflecting at how powerful that is because it reminds me of when we did that. I was super involved in the student union at Carleton University when I was there, and we ran campaigns, and they got super intense, and I was involved in city council campaigns later on, and provincial and federal campaigns with different candidates when I was super interested in that world. And at the end of every campaign day, we used to do highs and lows, and it's like drilled in my mind how amazing it was to sit down with the campaign team. All right, what went well today, what didn't, like highs and lows, and everyone would go around, and it was such a special time that I remember one time being so tired, and I was like, okay, guys, we're just gonna call it a night early. I think everyone's tired, like, and someone's like, wait, no highs and lows? No, we got to do highs and lows, and it like hit me that like whole wow. I thought letting them go home early would have been the like thing that they wanted, but they're like, no, no way, don't take this away from us. This is our moment to share and build, and it's so silly and funny, but I appreciate you saying it because it is a ritual that
Yeah.
creates a habit that is
Yeah.
grounding, that teaches us about each other and develops relationship far beyond the work that we're doing.
That's it.
And I mean, you do it with your kids, but imagine doing it at every stand up, like make your stand ups 5 minutes longer or 10 minutes longer and do a little high and low and see what magic appears in your team's culture, right? Just through that.
It's so true. And sometimes you don't even realize that something has become a ritual until somebody says, like, wait, we're not going to do that thing. We have to do that thing that you said we were going to do. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, wow, a ritual has emerged.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. I love that. I love that. It's really powerful, Laura, that you share your personal experience there with us. I think here around being a single mother, raising three boys, and what sort of rituals and rhythms that you had to take on in order to maintain that and continue to build your professional life, in addition to, all the challenges of three boys. you know
Yeah.
and I really appreciate it, and I love that. I love how you carry that through to work. Now, I would ask you, we went from how do you create culture, and we got into rituals, but I
Yeah.
think there's a space in between. We have to also identify the type of behaviors we want to see, and then use maybe rituals in those behaviors. Do you think that's a piece? Do you do that for your own family? Do you talk about behaviors and values as a family? Is that part of
Yeah,
your
for
your
sure.
family culture? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, not every day. That would be
No.
too much. But but yeah, I mean, it's just like behaviors come out in what you choose to tolerate and what you choose not to tolerate. And it's the
Mm.
same thing with culture, right? And it's funny, I have this post-it note on my wall here. Um, Somebody posted on LinkedIn not too long ago, and I should have written down the person's name because I want to give them credit for it. Um, their definition of culture, I had to write it on a post-it note. Culture is the sum of all the behaviors you champion minus the ones you tolerate. And like that is it right there. And you were just talking about behaviors. Like you don't have to have a rule book. It's
Mm.
becomes clear in what you tolerate and what you do
Mm.
not tolerate, right?
Mm.
So that stays true to, raising a family with children, whatever, but also running a business. That's how people know what behaviors, are tied to positive culture,
Yeah.
and it's just what you choose to tolerate and what you choose to celebrate.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
So
that. I
remember,
love
I'm
that.
not taking credit for that. We have to
No,
find
no, no, no. We have to find out who said it. If anyone knows that's listening, we'll do a little search. That's all good that we're sharing that,
yeah,
and I
yeah, yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
that. So then, um, your kind of professional journey here. You were doing a lot of agency work, media buying. You're getting
Yeah,
into this world.
yeah.
What sort of cultures did you come across during your time? How did some of those experiences shape the kind of culture that you're trying to create now at Wicket?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there were some examples of what not to do.
Those are
Sure.
always key. Yeah. Yeah. What are some things without naming names or companies? We don't have to get into that. What are some examples of what not to do, Laura?
I mean, just not at all listening to what your team wants
Mm.
or doesn't want. Like you have to you have to ask, and you have to then be prepared for the answers, and then you have to be prepared to actually put things into place. And I think that wasn't happening a lot in some of my previous roles. And it's funny too because like when I started running retrospectives, for anyone who doesn't know what a retrospective is, it's you know at a certain period of time, for companies that work in sprints, as an example, and they have a 2 week sprint, or at the end of the sprint, you have a retrospective to look back and talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and how can we make improvements for the next sprint, the next iteration, whatever period of time you decide you're doing this in. And sometimes doing retrospectives is hard because you get a lot of feedback that you don't want to hear.
Mm.
But if you're going to ask, you're going to get the feedback, and
Yeah.
you can't just then do nothing about it. You
Hmm.
have to actually take into consideration what everyone's saying, and action things. So I wasn't seeing a lot of that, I
Mm-hmm.
think. Yeah. And I think I just coming into industrial and being put into a position to actually implement some of these things that I was just really passionate about, to be given the opportunity to be empowered, to be a champion of this stuff is so key and so critical. And just not every company does that. And also just having, like, I'm a little bit obsessive with this stuff. I take it really seriously. And I think that that's a key part of it too, is when you put rituals in place, making sure that whoever's kind of like owning it, first of all, that there is somebody owning it, but that they make sure it happens every time. That's a really key part of it. So people trust that it's going to happen. Otherwise, you're just kind of all talk, right?
I love that. So, we're talking about here is really a culture champion, and perhaps you need several champions in order to kind of really build it up. But you've got this champion coordinator, this person who's going to make sure it happens, whose job it is to happen. So I think that's key, because a lot of times it's like, okay, so you're HR and you do these 27 different things. Also, can you do some culture stuff for us? Right?
Yeah.
That's often what's happening. So you're talking about creating a champion, carving out resources,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
decision-making authority around some of this.
Yeah. Yeah. Time and money, and like getting the blessing from the company that this is an investment that they want to make. Like all of these different meetings that we have, that are basically these rituals. They're all internal. They're not billable. They're not making us money. They're taking a bunch of time from billable resources. But that's a decision, that's an investment that we've decided to make because we think that it matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a key kind of ingredient in all of this as well.
Yeah. And it's tough, we say it's an investment in the people, in the longevity, and as soon as we start using those words, you get the CFO types to say, well, what's the exact ROI on it? And you're like, okay, yeah, we can show the surveys, we can try to document some of the measures, there are measures we can look at, but also, what's the ROI of you having dinner with your kids every night? Like that, like you don't ask for an ROI for building a relationship with your spouse. You don't ask about an ROI for spending time with your kids on Sunday playing sports, because it's a good thing and stuff to develop like good, strong relationships. And I find that, the more I get into it, the more I find it frustrating. Building good culture isn't always clear in the ROI, and that's maybe challenging unless you believe in some of it.
Yeah, for sure. I guess like if you had to talk to your CFO about that kind of stuff, you can throw around the like employee net promoter score metrics and employee turnover rate, that kind of stuff, right?
So those are two big metrics you would look. Yeah.
Which we look at, we measure for sure. It is a data point, definitely. But then also just, join one of our Slack channels and see people talking about, how much they hate bananas. And it is hard
Wait,
to
people hate bananas?
Well, there is one person on staff who actually has a banana phobia. But then someone just got an email yesterday saying that bananas are actually very dangerous. So there was a whole conversation about bananas yesterday.
I'm glad. You gave me two really good metrics, Laura. So I kind of want to go down this path. What metrics should I be looking out for if I'm leading people in culture in my team? What are some of the metrics that I should be, focused on to give me a pulse and a data point on the health of my culture?
Yeah, so I think employee net promoter score would probably be one of the big ones in the industry that, HR culture performance people look at. And then also For us, we do quarterly performance reviews. And as part of that, we just ask people on a scale of 1 to 5 for their happiness level. And then, of course, there's a whole bunch of anecdotal things that can go along with it. So we will use that happiness metric as well, just super simple happiness metric. But like, that's the thing. Like, you're just kind of measuring. So net promoter score, for those people who don't know, that's all about asking somebody how likely they would be to promote Wicket to somebody in their network. How likely are you to refer us to a friend? Would you tell a friend that they should come and work at Wicket? So, companies do net promoter scores for their products as well. You can do it internally with your staff too.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Awesome. So you had some not so good experiences in other teams and cultures, which gave you a bit of a vision for your own, to create your own. So, if I were to say, what insight around culture currently drives your culture strategy, the way you think about it? What's the key insight for you that drives things forward?
I don't know if I can just sum it up. Like, I just love listening to podcasts, reading books, attending, in-person workshops or conferences, and just hearing what other companies are doing. And, Wicket's a startup. So we don't have all the money to spend on all the amazing, wonderful things you can throw at your employees and stuff like that. But I still think that you can still model yourself after, some of the big companies out there. We're in Ottawa, of course. I have to mention Shopify. I've always had my eye on, looking at what they do, and their culture over the years has been one to emulate. And so I think it's just like, I like to look at what other people are doing and get inspired from other big companies, even though we're little.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you take a lot of that in, you see what's happening, you kind of see what kind of rituals and rhythms you can take in from them, try to make it practical.
Yeah.
Right? I guess that's the
Yes.
that's the journey. Is kind of take some of that and make it really practical. So if I'm listening to this episode and I'm ready to take Laura's advice and make some big changes, what are kind of 3 big changes we should start implementing? And one of them, I'll start you off here, is around really having a champion, an internal champion for a culture that is either working on creating opportunities for culture, or even just spelling it out initially, right? Like, what kind of culture do we want to be intentional about? So having a champion there, that's maybe one of the first changes. What are the other big changes?
Yeah, so having that champion, but also having the buy-in, right? So making sure that the company, if you're not the founder or owner, the company is going to empower that champion to move ahead, make the investment, because there is an investment involved as well. And to make sure that you are very relentless with following the routine, right? Like, that's key. If you say you're going to do it, you got to do it, and you got to do it every time at whatever cadence you decide is best for your company. And then also, I feel like kind of a willingness to explore creative ideas. Like, people are sick and tired of coming to the Friday call. Like, I'm sick and tired of coming up with these ideas. It's not easy. Week after week, so you have to be creative. Ask your team, what do you guys want to do? Does anybody have any ideas? Like, just be super creative. Yeah, I don't know. I think
I love that.
Yeah.
I love those. Good. So what sort of creative, you gave us an example of one of your creative solutions recently, the Slack channels one. Where does some of your rituals and rhythms show up at Wicket. Give me a few more examples, and I'd love to kind of get a few that we can give our the folks who are listening kind of really practical. Here, try this or try
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so yeah, so the Friday call, within the Friday call, um, we do something called weekly shout outs. So that's how we start the call, where anybody can just say, like, I just want to shout out this person because you did this awesome thing this week. Thank you for that. And we just kind of end up having this awesome little, 5-10 minute shout out conversation,
That's
and
cool.
that's become a ritual within a ritual, which is kind of fun. Of course, like the agile ceremonies, I can't stress them enough. The daily stand-ups, um, the retrospectives. We do a monthly company demo where all 30 of us will get on a call, and um, people will share their screens, and kind of it's like a show and tell. This is what I have done in the last month, like show off some new features that they've worked on in the product, share a design mock-up, whatever. It's a really, really good way to bring us all together and kind of celebrate the accomplishments that we've all been working on separately, though remote. So
Mm.
it's great to see, oh cool, that's what you've been working on, that's what that new feature looks like. um, we do quarterly town halls where we bring everybody together every quarter and report in to the team on how we're doing against our objectives and key results. Within the town hall, we do something called a values champion that we crown,
Mm.
where we always reflect on our company values, and it's a good way to bring them forward every quarter to remind
Yeah.
everybody these are our company values. And it's peer driven. So the person that won the last quarter gets to pick the new values champion, and it's just somebody who has displayed one of the values and a little story that goes along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so like those are just
I love
some
those.
examples of some of the rituals that we do.
I love those. I love those. There's another very public facing one that I see you do all the time. It's on LinkedIn. Every time you've got a new hire, you've got
Yeah,
this fun post welcoming them to the Wicked family. I love
yeah,
it, and I'm always like, oh look, they've got another new hire. It's so cool. I think
yeah.
that's a fun one, and during our chat. I think you had mentioned something that was really powerful that resonated with me, Laura, and it was you said I don't have time for this stuff either, right? I think that's this. When people sometimes listening to these calls, they're like, "Wow, she must have so much time to do all the culture stuff and like
Right.
oh LinkedIn. Oh, I wish I had that much time." Well, no, you don't have time for it either, but you still relentlessly make it happen. What are perhaps some of the traps that are folks who are in the people and culture world who are trying to do some of this stuff? What are some traps that they should try to avoid? Some things that they should do. One of them that I think I'm going to start you off with because I'll give you an answer to the question I'm asking you
Okay.
because you've said it earlier is that don't start something and drop it off, right? This kind of relentless because then it shows we're not really committed to this. We're just committed to talking about culture, right? So that's
Yeah.
one of the traps which loses trust. And I think our leaders don't recognize how much trust it erodes truly when we start something and then stop. We kind of show that that's okay to start
Yeah.
something and stop it. But I think
Yes.
that's one of the traps that we all fall into as leaders when we're trying to build culture and we don't have enough time, right?
Yeah.
What are maybe some of the other traps that you've seen yourself or seen other teams fall into that maybe as a little warning? Here's some things
Yeah.
to
Yeah, I think I can only really think of two, and you just said one of them. So,
That's
um,
okay. That's good.
but let me reiterate that it just is so important that you just keep doing them. Even when, somebody's trying to buck over it in the calendar, you're the one that's got to be like, no, guys, this is a very, very important meeting. The other trap I think is if it's really not working, don't force it.
Mm,
Stop and do something else. So I think that it's kind of funny because I'm almost contradicting myself in those two traps. It's like don't stop doing it and then stop doing it if it's not working. Yeah, it's okay to say, okay, we tried this thing and it sucks. It didn't work. It's not working. So we're not going to do it anymore and we're going to try something else.
yeah. Yeah, I think a good way to look at it is if I would say you look at, if you remember stats class, you look at your general distribution graph. If the people on the end of it, your Kool-Aid drinkers, the ones who love this stuff, start to maybe not love what's happening, that's a good indicator. That's a good indicator. If the ones who
Yeah.
typically love it are not loving it, yeah, okay. If the ones that always hate it on the other side are hating it, well, I'm never gonna get Steve from wherever who hates this stuff to really love it. As long as he's showing up, we're doing something, right? I think that's a good
true.
way of thinking about it. I love that. Well, Laura, any final thoughts for our audience? This has been a wonderful episode. You've given us some really, I think, practical advice. I really like how we went from we create culture by understanding the behaviors that we want minus the ones that we tolerate. Quotation, we need to find out who said that. But that, and we get the rituals to really solidify them. We're consistent with those rituals, and we make those changes by having a champion, by being relentless, and by being creative in our approaches and trying many different things. So you've given us a nice little wrapped up kind of summary on how to create culture, which I really like. Any last words, thoughts to share with our folks here?
I don't know. I don't think so. Like, you just summarized it really, really well. I think if you're in a position to do any of this stuff, just do it. Just go and do it. I don't
And
know.
have fun with it. Make it fun.
I,
It's got to be
yeah.
fun for you too, right?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Awesome. Well, Laura, thank you so much for joining us. This was wonderful. Such a pleasure to spend the hour with you to talk all about culture and discuss the rituals and rhythms that happen in our cultures and how we can make them. I'm going to start highs and lows now at dinner. I'm 100% taking that. We'll do it with my team too. It's something that we used to do, and I'm realizing that I was not relentless with my pursuit on it. So a nice little lesson for me to bring that back in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thanks, Laura. Thank you, Laura, so much for that wonderful episode. It was great to hear everything from her personal journey to her work journey and how it all accumulated to the person that she is today and the company that she is leading and the culture that she is creating. Thank you to each and every one of you for listening all the way through. If you've got any questions, you got any topics, any ideas, you know where to reach us at unicornlabs.ca, my email, fahad@unicornlabs.ca, or any of our social medias. You can find my handle, Fahad Al-Hatab. One of the things I want you to reflect on that really hit me during this episode is, what ritual do you have at work that if taken away, you would be upset? What ritual do you have with your team? Maybe not your team. Maybe you got to go personal life for you to really recognize it even too. What ritual do you have in your life, work or personal, that if taken away, you'd be kind of upset about? I think recognizing those rituals will help us understand their importance to see if we can create some new rituals that really allow people to, focus on the purpose of why you're there. I think rituals must align with our values, and rituals must align with the purpose of our organization, the purpose of the startup that we're leading. And it can help us reorient oneself every day as a reminder of this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. And I think that's what's so key about rituals and rhythms, is that they ground us. They bring us back to this moment when we get lost. And some people have their own rituals and rhythms in their life that help ground them. So think about what rituals and rhythms we can have at work to help ground us. That's it, folks. You can find the show notes and transcript at unicornlabs.ca/podcast. And if you like the content, be sure to rate it, to review it, to subscribe, and get notified. You can hit the bell notifications. Is that even a thing? You can make sure to see when the next episode is coming out. Share it with a friend. Do us a favor. Share it with your company. And if you like what you're hearing, tell everyone about it and spread the word. Thank you so much. I'm Fahad Al-Hatab, and this is the Unicorn Leadership Podcast.